ladies and gentlemen, to Championship Bowling, where each week we present two of the nation's outstanding bowling stars in match game competition, with $1,000 going to the winner. 3 games, total pins, and of course that winner continuing as King of the Hill. This is Fred Wolf speaking to you from the beautiful Cane Run Lanes in the bluegrass country of Louisville, Kentucky. Fast race horses and planters punches and everything else. We've got him with the greatest bowlers in the nation in action. And back for his 4th consecutive appearance, averaging .227, winning 8 of his 9 games from St. Louis, Missouri, Tom Hennessy. Tom, boy, nice to be back. Getting pretty well acquainted, Tom. You've been around here for a long time. We checked your winnings. They check in now at about $3,575. Is that balance?
Sounds real good.
Did your wife check you out all right when you got home last week?
Yeah, she likes for me to come home the way I've been coming home.
Wants you to come home again after this show with another $1,000 or so. Well, Tommy, I have a pretty tough customer for you, and I don't know whether you're going to get back with that $1,000 this week. And I want everybody to meet him 5 times. The National Individual Match Game Champion, who has rolled a total of 83 300 scores, the fabulous Ned Day of West Allis, Wisconsin. Hi, Ned. Nice to see you. Ned, I know you have appeared on Championship Bowling before, but this being your first appearance here to meet this fella from St. Louis, I'll go over the rules briefly to you. $1,000, 3 games, total pins. You understand that, I'm sure. An additional $50 to the winner of the first game. $75 to the winner of the second game, and $100 to the winner of the third game. We all agree on that. Now, in addition to that, Ned, should you roll your 84th perfect score, and we're looking forward to that. Should it happen, or probably Tommy will have something to say about it too, there's $10,000 more. Would you have room to take that back to West Allis, Ned?
Yes, I could do that.
You think you can handle it?
Absolutely.
Now, there has been a toss of the coin for starting alley, and who won that toss?
I believe I did.
And what is your choice?
I'll start on 3.
You will start on alley 3, the first and third game. Tommy, you will start on alley 3, the second game. You gentlemen will shake hands. We'll be ready, boys, for game number 1 on Championship Bowling. Let's give them a little encouragement, and we'll be off here. All right?
Ned Day, West Allis, Wisconsin. Did a lot of bowling out of Chicago. Bowling proprietor, bowling exhibitionist, fine instructor, in a little high, leaves the 4-7. Ned Day, considered by many critics in the great sport of 10 pins to have possibly the most graceful form in the game. And what a fabulous career this fella has had. And it all happened one day when he was taking a walk in Milwaukee, could not get past Hank Marino's bowling establishment.
Stopped in, bowled a game and liked it. He converted in the first.
And here's Tommy Hennessy, who is piling up a tremendous record here on Championship Bowling, averaging .227 for 9 games, 3 weeks. This is his 4th week. He's won 8 of the 9, and he'll try to go after Mr. Day.
He's there. He's leaving the 10-pin.
Hennessy really rifling one in the 1-3 pocket. And if you were with us last week, Hennessy really was tearing the pins apart. He told us after the match he just didn't know what he was doing, but it sure looked good on the scoreboard, and that it did. He had a .269 game last week. Started with .244, and he closed with .228 for 741. At the 10-pin, Hennessy will
convert it. Going away on the outside, and Tommy shakes his head and breathes a sigh of relief.
Tommy Hennessy, born in Granite City, Illinois, just a few miles from St. Louis, where he became quite a national star, moved to Detroit in 1952. Helped his team win the National Match Game Team title for 4 years, returned to St. Louis in 56 and 57 to win it again.
Then, carry! Oh, Mr. Hennessy is starting right where he left off. He had the 5-7, and believe me, there was a lot of action down there as the Brunswick Red Crowns just seemingly cooperated perfectly
for Tom Hennessy. And Ned Day now stepping in. We're in the second frame of game number 1. Ned Day checking in at a trim 165 pounds, way inside, on the nose, and he has the 310, the baby split, the 310. It's a very simple shot when you see it converted, but to a bowler, it can become a very difficult one. The idea being simple, the ball going between the 2 pins sometimes is made on the outside, hitting the 3 pin to the left. But believe me, that is not the way the boys are looking when they're shooting at it. Try to put the ball between the pins. He doesn't quite do it. The ball getting in there too fast. And Ned is open in the second, 18-27. Ned Day, who conducts many bowling schools, gives thousands of bowlers instructions the year round as a member of the Brunswick Advisory Staff. Also a bowling proprietor in West Allis, Wisconsin. Ned will try again for his first strike. He's got it. Mr. Day looking very sharp, getting that one in there beautifully for his first strike of the match on the 3rd frame. And now we have Tom Hennessy, who is on a strike. And Tommy has an excellent chance here of taking a 23-pin lead with this one. He's got to have it. He counts. He's there. He's got it. So Hennessy has been in all 3 frames. He left a 10-pin in the first, converted it, came back with strikes in the second and third. Tommy, who resides in Florissant, Missouri, a suburb of St. Louis, ready in the 4th. Throw. He's there. He's got another one. Mr. Hennessy is going to be hard to handle. And already starting a sensational string of victories on championship bowling. This is his 4th consecutive appearance. And Ned Day of West Allis, Wisconsin, will try to stop him. Ned is on a strike. Ned needs this double. Coming too high. A wide open split, the 4-7-10. Ned shaking his head. That one really got in there in a hurry. So Ned has been high both times on LA4 on the right side, getting the baby split in the second. And here's one certainly that is not a baby, but this fellow capable of turning it in. Let's watch him. Got to go, not enough. Too much of the 4-pin, and Day has his second open frame. 46-55. Day with 55 in the 5th frame. Hennessy working on 3. Day now moving to the left side. Ned was born in Los Angeles, California in 1911, moved to West Allis, Wisconsin as a youngster. He's coming up there. Beautiful hit. That, of course, is the strike that Ned Day is so famous for. You will notice Ned's angle is much to the center of the alley. His starting point is to the center, where Hennessy plays slightly more to the gutter, to the right side. Tommy not throwing as big a hook as Ned. He's looking for 4. He's got it. Well, Mr. Hennessy has a tremendous line, and he's just picking up where he left off last week. And Tommy has quite a string of games going. His second game against Jimmy Spaulding of Louisville 2 weeks ago was 245. He followed with 221 for 666. Last week against Bob Prince of Los Angeles, California, he opened with 244, closed with 269. His second game, rather, was 269, and he closed with 228. Tommy now moving to the left side, working on 4 strikes in a row. And, of course, flirting with the 290 game. He's got a long way to go, but he certainly can do it. Tommy had 23 strikes last week. Oh, he is on his way. Look at that ball go in that pocket. Ned Day even applauds this young fellow from St. Louis, who seemingly is going to be real rough. Tommy, certainly on his way to winning game number 1, $50 to the loot that he is taking out of Louisville, Kentucky, and tucking it away back in St. Louis, Mo. Here's Day high again. He has the 310. So Ned Day has 3 successive splits here on alley 4 on the right side. The baby split in the second, the 4-7-10 in the fourth, and again now the baby, the 310 in the sixth. Ned Day, who has rolled 83 perfect scores. A sensational record. See if he can make this one. Too much of the 3, same as he did in the second. So Ned, still smiling. The great sportsman and competitor that he is, he knows that these things have to happen to every bowler. And of course, when it happens under conditions like these, it can be rather sad and disappointing to anyone. Ned now moving into frame number 7 with 3 consecutive open frames. On the right side, a spare and 3 strikes on the left side. So it is interesting to note, and we have brought this out many times, that Day has 3 strikes, but he got them all in the same alley. Hennessy only has 5 strikes, actually, but Tommy is about 70 pins ahead of Day. Here's another one. Oh, man, you could see that one from where we're sitting. That ball was digging all the way. We called it before it hit the pocket. I know that some of you folks might not appreciate the fact that we say he's got it, but having been a bowler for some 20 years myself, I know what the feeling is within a bowler as he throws the ball. He has got to feel that it's a strike. You've got to be at least that optimistic. That's all there is. Mr. Hennessy putting on quite a show. Now remember, he left the 10 pin in the first frame on a pretty good hit. And he now has just piled up 7 consecutive strikes right on top of it. And Ned Day is trailing by 87 pins at the end of the 6th frame. Ned now tries to go out, doesn't come back, and he leaves the cluster of 5. After you hit the nose 3 straight times, you got to do something. Ned did it, but he overcorrected himself, did not come back, and he leaves the bucket with a man in motion, or the 2, 4, 5, 7, 8 cluster of 5 on the left side. And some of Ned's teammates might come up with the crack, as they always do. Shoot the half, Ned. Shoot the half. Ned's playing way to the left this time. Interesting. And he has it. Ned playing the 2-5 as a pocket, as if all 10 pins were standing, and Ned has his first mark on the right side. And he moves now to the left, where he has 3 strikes in 4 frames. Ned Day, who in the 1956-57 series in a friendly match in West Allis, Wisconsin, rolled 2 300s back-to-back, his 82nd and 83rd, and that was the 3rd time in his career that he did that. He's short again, and he has the 1-2-10. Ned being overcautious. When you get 3 splits in one game, you just got to be careful, and Ned getting the ball out too far. Day now, with 120 in the 8th, looks at the 1-2-10, and we cannot give him a split on this. With the head pin standing, this is just considered a tough spare, and believe me, it's a tough one. He'll try to cross to the 1-2 side. Hurry, hurry. Well, he went right around it. Isn't it sad? He covered it beautifully, the head pin getting around the 10, not touching it. So Day is open in the 9th. With 129 as Tom Hennessy, the St. Louis Flash, with the new brush cut, will go for 2-9-0. He's got to have it. Look at that ball. And he leaves the 7 pin. He gets a wiggle and a wobble. There were at least 5 pins on top of the 7, and it stayed up there. The Brunswick automatic pin setter comes down, removes the dead wood, and puts that pin right back where it was. The pin actually is to the right of the spot. And the pin setter put it right back off spot. Hennessy has it. So Tommy really lost one there. That ball had, that had everything on it that you could put on it. And he had a nice string of 7 right in the middle of a game that now will pull him out here with a potential 269. Tommy started with a 10-pin, followed with 7 strikes in a row, left the 7-pin in the 9th, moves to the left for the 10th, and is a little high, and the 7-pin's up there again with company. He has the 6-7. So every open frame that Hennessy has at this point, of course, is that many less pins that they will have to face over the remaining 2 games. So Tommy had a big one going, and I would say had he carried in the 9th, he possibly would have been a little sharper in the 10th. A little disappointing. Watch it. Watch it. Shit. So Tommy, with his 7 in a row, is cut off in the 10th with a 6-7 split at 246. So Ned Day now stepping in, still with a chance for 159. Tommy, his 4th consecutive appearance here, off to a flying start against Ned Day, who finally gets in the pocket on the right side, and a delayed action strike with that 6-pin sliding in beautifully right under the 10, and Ned has himself his first strike on the right side. Ned had 3 strikes over on the left, but he couldn't get one when he needed it. In fact, he had 3 splits in a row in this alley, and he may have straightened himself out. You'll notice Ned over to the left of center. The type of ball that he is famous for. Throws it out, brings it back too high. He didn't carry the 7. Almost got away with it. Ned, who of course teaches 4 and 5 steps in the various bowling schools and bowling forums that he conducts around the nation, takes 5 himself. Here's a fellow who once gave bowling instructions to Harry S. Truman in the White House. They converted the spare or got the full 20-pin count of the 10th for 149. Now we'll stand by here at the Cane Run Lanes in Louisville, Kentucky for game number 2 on Championship Bowling. And this is Fred Wolf just asking you to stand by while we listen to this important message.
The scores for the first game, Ned Day, 149 with a little bit of trouble in the split department, and Tom Hennessy continues to really pile them up. An opening game of 246, Tom. Well, I don't know what we're going to do with you. There's $50, Tom, to start you off, and you're getting up now and where that stuff is counting pretty good. We just checked your average. You're now up to 229. Think you can maintain that the rest of your...
Well, I don't know, Fred. Only time will tell.
Time will tell.
If I keep throwing the ball as good as I have been throwing it the last few times, why, I'll shoot pretty good, I hope.
2 or 3 weeks ago, I remember you just struggling out here over here on this
Really
alley on this side, and you certainly have mastered it beautifully, and you deserve a lot of credit for that.
Thank you, Fred.
All right, we're ready for game number 2, Tom Hennessy against Ned Day. Let's get him started.
Hennessy starting the second game with a very comfortable margin. He opened with 246, raised his average to 229 for 10 games. He leaves the 10-pin. And, of course, the pin in the gutter just counts as knocked down. We've had a few of those. The pin has got to be standing on the alley itself. And Tommy leaves the 10-pin in the first frame. So Ned Day, who certainly got away very slowly, with 3 splits and a miss for 149 without a double, has a 97-pin deficit to pick up in 2. He can do it, but he's got a tough cookie and a boy who is pretty sharp and bowling beautifully, in that he has quite a string going, especially over the last 3 weeks. He defeated Jimmy Spalding 2 weeks ago from Louisville, 666 to 611. There's Ned. Day getting in beautifully now in frame number 1 and getting away to a better start. And a great competitor as Day is without any doubt, has forgotten the first game. You just can't go around being unhappy with something that is done. You forget it and go out and try to get as many as you can in the game that you are bowling, or the frame that you are in. Try to forget a bad frame, but don't forget what you did, because you should have experienced something that should help you. Hurry, hurry. Never gets there. He has the 1, 2, 7, 8. Day getting one out too far, and it doesn't come back. So Ned did not take advantage of his strike in the first frame, and Hennessy losing no ground up to this point as we get into the second frame of game number 2. Day will probably try to hit them all with the ball, getting it over, and he does. He gets his spare. He didn't go all the way across. The 2-pin actually hit the 7, but it was a beautiful conversion, and Day now has 20 in the first with a spare in the second. Hennessy started with a 10-pin. Look out, look out. Brooklyn doesn't get far enough across. He leaves the 6-10, one of the first times that Hennessy has been out of the pocket on the right side in a long time. Tommy has a string of 7 200 games going, 200 or over. He finished with a 200 game against Joe Ostrowski of Philadelphia 4 weeks ago at 226. At the 6-10, he'll convert it. He followed with 3 games, 200 or over, against Jimmy Spaulding of Louisville, Kentucky 3 weeks ago, and of course, or 2 weeks ago rather, and last week, 244, 269, and 228 for 741 against Bob Prince of Los Angeles. So Tommy's winnings now have reached $3,625. And he has a comfortable margin to add another $1,000 to that. That's the spot. Hennessy getting his first strike of the second game. Tommy seemingly not getting away in the first few frames. We notice in his big games it's spare in the first frame or strike and a spare, and then he just starts stringing them out. Ned Day in the third. Ned throwing, coming beautifully. Oh, look at the 8-pin. Well, there's no justice. And it usually happens to the man who is behind. And Mr. Day really lost himself one there. It's sometimes amazing how that 8-pin can stand. We've had a few of them here at Louisville. You'll have them in your hometown. You folks are interested in improving your game. Now watch this boy. He's got the spare. Ned, of course, a great exponent of follow-through, and you certainly can see it if you'll watch what he does with his hand after the delivery of the ball. Ned, who for years threw a 2-finger ball, switched to a 3, as most of the stars have. It's just too much of a load on your middle finger if you're going to do a lot of bowling. Ned now's got to hurry. He is short again, and he missed the head pin 2 times running on the left side, the 1, 2, and the 8. In the audience here with us at the Kane Ronald Lanes in Louisville, Kentucky this week, we have, of course, the congenial manager, Edgar Myers, who is considered one of our outstanding bowlers in this area. He wanted to see the great Ned Day in action. Possibly he could pick up a pointer or 2. At the 1, 2, 8, Ned converts. So Tom Hennessy now moving over on the right side. Tommy is on a strike. He has a potential 2-pin lead here in the second game. Tommy gets that one out. It's coming, but he doesn't carry the 7. Tommy was almost on the Brooklyn on this alley in the second frame. He didn't want to do that again. And having a memory and remembering what he did, he made sure that he got it out far enough and threw it out just a bit too far. So Hennessy, with this conversion, will have himself a 2-pin lead at the end of 4 frames. 58 for Hennessy in the third with a spare in the fourth. Tom Hennessy, who I believe last week we mentioned had rolled 6 perfect scores, we find out this week, Tommy corrected us in telling us that he has 8 perfect scores, 3 of them sanctioned. The last sanctioned 300 during the 56-57 season in St. Louis.
Just like that.
12 of them, just like that, will get you a 300. And here's a fellow who has rolled 83 perfect scores. Unbelievable, isn't it? He has had 33 strikes in a row twice. Not like that. The 310, he's high again. Ned has the 310, the 3rd time that he's had this leave on this alley. Ned has won 2 American Bowling Congress titles. He won the All Events in Detroit in 1948, and we had the pleasure of watching him bowl his final 6 games. In fact, we did a little broadcasting on that one. And a member of the 1956 team champion in Rochester, New York,
And he converted it for the first time. That day.
converting the baby split, the 310, in the 5th frame. Ned Day stepping in the 6th frame at the end of 5, Day trailing by 4 pins. Hennessy on a strike in the 5th. Here is Day in the 6th, throwing in carry.
Well, that's one of the finest balls that we've seen Ned throw here up to this point.
Let's hope that he has himself straightened out to give Mr. Hennessy an exciting week here on championship bowling. Day now with 94 in the 5th and a strike in the 6th. Here's Tommy.
Throws beautifully. Boy, he held that line all the way down for a big double. The first double in this game number 2 for Hennessy, who is averaging 229.
229 for a total of 10 games. Hennessy last week defeated Bob Prince of Los Angeles 741 to 545.
Just like that. This fella is really getting to know these 2 alleys here at the Cane Run Lanes in Louisville, Kentucky. Coming back every week and making it rough for the nation's greatest bowling stars. And Tommy will have another fella here next week, just as they come. As he now tries to get back in the ball game. And here he comes. That day seemingly has straightened himself out.
2 beautiful strikes. So the scoreboard reads Hennessy with 108, giving him the 30 in the 5th. Strikes in the 6th and 7th. Ned Day trailing by 14 pins. Ned having strikes in the 6th and 7th also. So the pace now begins to step up as Day trying valiantly to pull game number 2 out of the fire. He's been trailing all the way. Ned throws, comes, hurry, hurry. Then Ned Day, West Allis, Wisconsin, rolled 63, his first game when he was 19 years old. As we mentioned, he took a walk in Milwaukee after a game of golf. Ned, incidentally, is a fine golfer, shooting in the 70s. That was his real sport when he was a young fella. Walked past the Hank Marino bowling establishment in Milwaukee, walked in, decided to try it, and here he is, converting the 10 pin. Has held all 3 of the national match game titles. One of the few bowlers to hold all 3 of them. Been in the game for over 25 years. One of our real stars. And here's a young fellow who hasn't been around that long, but is already recognized as one of the best. Knows. He broke it up to 610. So Hennessy, after a triple, stops by going too high on his favorite alley in the 8th frame. Cross alley shot, the 6 pin, slightly to the left, making it a dangerous shot. Possibility of a pick.
He doesn't. Tommy just got enough of that 10 pin,
And he was a bit in doubt as he whistled a sigh of relief. So we have Day with 143 and a spare in the 8th. Hennessy 153 with a spare in the 8th. A margin of 10 pins. Tommy won the first one by 97 pins. When Day running to 3 splits and a miss for 149 against Tommy's 246. Tommy reaching, throwing, coming, beautifully carries the 4-7. So Hennessy not taking any chances. Day trying to find a spot to get through, and this fella Hennessy is just piling up too many of them. Tommy averaging 229 now for 10 games, can go all the way for 233 to maintain that average. Here is Day. Gets there. Look at that. The 7-pin will stand. We'll correct that score. Hennessy with 176 in the 8th with his strike in the 9th. Tommy was on a triple. 108 in the 5th. 136. 20 and 8 in the 6th. He converted the spare for 156. Here is Day converting in the 9th. So Day is 162 and a spare. Hennessy 176 and a strike. So Tommy has a 14-pin bulge here in game number 2. The advantage in that he is on a strike and Day is on a spare. Day's got to have it. Right in the middle, and look at the result, the 4-6. So Hennessy wins another one, and this makes now a total of 5 straight wins. Tommy had a string of 5 earlier. 4 weeks ago, he won 3 from Ostrowski, won the first 2 from Spalding, and Spalding pulled the last one out, shooting 231. Tommy won 3 from Bob Prince last week, the first one here, and the second one, giving him a string now of 5 again. Day trying to be fancy, leaves both the 4 and the 6. Just a matter of 1 pin, and Day settles for 188. 2 splits that game, one that he converted, and Tommy now going after his 236. This one he's got out there. Look at that. Mr. Hennessy, always with a remark or two for the spectators, as he turns and comes back and waits for his ball. It's now potential 236 with an opening game of 246. And this fella is beginning to like Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm sure he enjoys the keen run lanes. Hey, looks good. Got another one. It looks like they're not going to send this fella back to St. Louis for some time. Tom Hennessy, who probably is making his high school sweetheart, who is now his wife, Colleen, very happy back in St. Louis. They actually live in Florissant, a suburb of St. Louis. Look at there. Oh, this fella has really got a line here. 236 for Tom Hennessy. Now we'll check these scores and be right back in Louisville, Kentucky for game number 3, the big one on championship bowling. Fred Wolf telling you to stand by and listen to these important words.
The scores for the second game, Ned Day 188. Tommy Hennessy from St. Louis continues to roll with 236. Tom? My goodness, Tom, there's another $75. I think we've got that thing up around $3,700 now, and you seemingly have a fairly comfortable margin here to go into the third and final game. I'm not going to ask you if you have enough. That would be too embarrassing to Ned Day. I'll just say this, Tommy, that I think you're bowling tremendously. You now have an average of 229. Suppose we get it up to 230 this game.
I'll try, Fred.
You'll try very hard. Would you like to see this fella roll a real big one this time?
I'd like to roll one for him, too.
Would you like to see Ned Day roll a bigger one? All right, let's go. Here we go. Ned?
Ned Day starting the third and final game on the left side. Ned hopelessly out of this one. Total pins is in, and he leaves the 10-pin. Watch it. Not enough. The Brunswick Red Crown pin falling in the gutter. The 10 pin is still up there, and Day will move to his extreme left and show you how to make the 10 pin with all the grace of a great champion. 5 times the national individual match game champion. 33 strikes in a row, twice in his career. 3 times he has rolled 2 300s back to back. Well, I guess we spoke out of turn, did we? But so it goes with the great champions, proving that anyone can miss the 10 pin. And my face is red. Ned, you let us down. And here is the great Tom Hennessy of St. Louis. He is still going. Look at that. Oh, man, he just piles them up, doesn't he? There's still 5 pins down there on the deck. This kid just gets all that tremendous action, and many times the pins do not all get into the pit. They do their dancing right there where you can see them. So Hennessy, who had 7 strikes the first game, 8 strikes the second game, 15 strikes, is on his way again. Tommy, look at that. What are you going to do? Tommy shaking his head. He says, well, what am I going to do? They won't let me throw another one. And he's going to take it. He has 2. Last week, Tommy had 23 strikes. Boy, he's on his way to top that. Hurry, Ned. Day leaves the 10 again. Ned coming in thin as the pins are really dancing. Ned Day, very proud of a record that he holds in American Bowling Congress tournament competition. He is the first bowler to average over 200 for 25 consecutive ABC tournaments. It's a figure around 202. So Ned does make the 10 pin this time. And possibly we shouldn't have mentioned it in the first frame. So Ned has a batting average here this game of 500. He made 1 out of 2. Ned has been on many All-American teams over the years, twice named the Bowler of the Year by the Bowling Writers Association of America, twice has held the ABC 10-year average, and when you average over 202 for 25 tournaments, you've got to throw a ball like that. So Day now, all 3 frames, giving his ball a lot of room and giving it a lot of turn and coming in thin and finally mixing one up. Hennessy, of course, has been really splattering them around, too, with that thin hit of his, but from an entirely different angle. It's interesting to watch. Here's a solid one. Oh, he left the 10. And Tommy was in that time a little better, but he didn't carry. The 6 pin just took a fast dip right down in the gutter and went past. So Hennessy now, with a conversion here, will have a lead of 20 pins on Day in the 3rd and final game, with a chance to add another $100 to the pot, plus the $1,000. It'll put Mr. Hennessy around $4,800. Championship bowling being very kind to this fella. And I must say that he's earning it. He's not being handed. It's not being handed to him. He's really working on it. Very interesting thing here, too, in that in 1955, it was Tom Hennessy who won the Ned Day Singles Classic that Ned conducts every year in West Allis, Wisconsin. He's in there. Boy, this guy's just in that pocket all the time. A beautiful exhibition. That's his 18th strike of the match. Tommy had 7, 9, and 7. 7 in the first, 9 in the second, 7 in the last game last week. This week he is 7, 8 for the first 2. Hurry, Ned, he's there. Look at that, there's the action. Day now has been drifting in that pocket 4 consecutive frames. A 10 pin in the first frame, which he missed, much to our embarrassment. The second frame, a 10 pin, which he converted, and he followed with 2 strikes. Ned's highest league average was back in 1937 when he averaged 222 in the Milwaukee Classic. Looks good. Got another one. So Tom Hennessy will have to pay attention. attention here in the third and final game of this one as he steps in the fifth frame, working on a strike. Tommy is 69, strike, and he's solid again. This time carry. Tommy left a 10-pin on the right side, alley 4 in the third, but he had that same beautiful line in the fifth to make it a double. He needs one more to get up in the 220 bracket, which, of course, is what he wants to maintain that 229 average. About a 230 or a possible 240 game will put Hennessy at a 230 average for 12 games. And under these conditions, that is tremendous. The 3-6, too high for Hennessy in the sixth. After 2, he stopped. So Day now much in the running here in the third game. Tommy in the 1956-57 season on television rolled two 800 totals, 804 and 846. The 3-6, look out, he picked it. He did not cover the 2 pins, and Tommy has an open frame, his first open frame since the 10th frame of the first game, when he stopped with a 6-7 split after 7 strikes in a row. So Ned Day now works on 3. Chance to cut down the deficit. Ned went in this game 145 pins behind. Boy, look at him roll that ball in the pocket now. So Ned has taken the lead here in game number 3 with the extra $100, rolling for the winner of the third game. Day now moving to the left, working on 4 in a row, the first time that we have seen Ned string them out here this week. Coming up, he's there again. Mr. Day looking like the real champion that he is. 5 strikes in a row, and every one of them right in the 1-3 pocket as Hennessy now will try to go to work in the remaining 4 frames. Day has taken suddenly a 24-pin lead here in the third game. Tommy goes in. Look at that. Oh, man. Really has him jumping, doesn't he? Those pins seem to be hanging in midair, a foot off the alley. So Tommy will give Mr. Day a run for it here. He trails by 24 pins going into frame number 8. Both boys are on strikes in the 7th. Day, of course, working on 5. Hennessy's there again. So Tommy, after picking the 3-6, is 125 in the 6th with strikes in the 7th and 8th. Still has a chance for 245, which would give him his second consecutive 700 series. Tommy is 482. He needs 218. And here's Ned Day. He's on 5. Will it be 6? A little high, the 4-7. Ned a bit disappointed. And now Hennessy closing the gap of 24 pins. Tommy going for everything again. Tommy has a string of 200 games that go all the way back to his final game with Joe Ostrowski 4 weeks ago. He started there with a 226 at the 4-7, and that day converts. He had 635 in that series against Ostrowski, finishing with 226. He had 3 200 games against Jimmy Spaulding, 3 200 games against Bob Prince of Los Angeles, and the first 2 200 games here against Ned Day. So it's a total of 9 200 games in a row, and he's well on his way to making it 10 as Ned Day steps up in the 9th. Coming. It's there. Day looking very sharp here in the third and final game, but it is a bit late. You can't shoot 149 against the way Tom Hennessy has been bowling here on championship bowling the past 4 weeks, and expect to be able to pick them up. Tommy took a lead of 97 pins right off the bat. Here it comes, and he leaves the 10 pin again. Tommy leaving the 10-pin, his second one in this game on this alley. So Tommy still trailing Ned Day at the end of 8 by approximately 13 pins. He needed that one. And Day, of course, is on a strike, and Ned has a chance for 247. Cross alley at the 10. Tommy has that one. Giving him 174 and a spare in the 9th. The margin is 13, so Tommy will have to double. If Tommy doubles, he will force Ned Day to get a spare and 8 pins if Tommy goes all the way for 224. Throwing, the first one is good. Tom Hennessy, a great competitor who someday will probably join bowlers like Ned Day and Andy Verapapa and Joe Norris and Joe Willman in the ABC Hall of Fame. It's just got to happen to this fella. He's really got what it takes. One more. He's there. He leaps the 10-pin again. So Hennessy's string of wins will stop right here, because Mr. Ned Day has the third game in his back pocket, an additional $100, which will help get Ned Day back to West Allis, Wisconsin, and Tom Hennessy will be back in Louisville, Kentucky for his 5th consecutive appearance next week. We'll tell you about his opponent after we post the final scores, and Tommy checks in here with a 214. Tommy right around the 700 figure. In fact, he needed that second strike for a 700. He's in the 690s, and here's Ned Day now, who has been very sharp here the third game. He's thin, he carries all but the 8. Looks like he might get away with it. So Day definitely has won the third game. Even if Ned misses this one, he will have 216. Conversion and the full count will give him 227. He's got it. Ned Day, one of our great stars, a fellow who has written many books on bowling, appeared in many movies, considered one of the top instructors in the game, and he may visit your city in the very near future, and when he does, believe me, it'd be well worth your while to stop in at your neighborhood bowling establishment and get instructions from one of the greatest. And here he is, Ned Day, in the 10th, his final ball in the 1-3 pocket, and he carries. And we wrap this one up. We'll be back for the presentations in just a moment. And Fred Wolf in Louisville, Kentucky asks you to stand by while we all listen to these interesting words. Now the final results, Ned Day of West Allis, Wisconsin, and Tom Hennessy of St. Louis, Missouri. The scores: Day 149, 188, and 227 for a total of 564. And the bomber from St. Louis, 246, 236, 214, the total 696. So let's call Ned Day the loser this week, and we hate to put it that way, the great champion, Mr. Day. Come on out, Ned. How are you? Ned? We pulled the last game away from him anyway. You win $100, of course, for that, and the loser's share, $300.
Thank you very much,
I hate to put it
buddy.
that way, but this fella, we've got to do something with him, Ned. We thought possibly you might send him back to St. Louis. He
Well,
looked pretty sharp again.
He sure did. I got off a little bad, and he was right there to take advantage of it, believe me.
I think if we could bowl 3 more games, we might stay with him the way you bowled the last
Well,
game.
he was coming down, and I was going up. Let's put it that way.
He is. He was getting weaker
But
every
of course,
game.
he didn't need him either.
Ned, good luck to you back there in West Allis,
Thank you very
Wisconsin.
much, Freddie.
Ned Day, ladies and gentlemen. Well, this
getting to be a habit. There's a song I think goes something like, it's getting to be a habit with me. So, Mr. Hennessy, out here, boy.
Hey, it's a good habit, Fred. All my hands are sweating.
May I congratulate you again. Another $1,000. According to our bank book, it shows $4,700 that you have now pocketed away back in St. Louis.
Very good.
What's happening back there in St. Louis? What are we doing?
Oh, nothing much, Fred.
Nothing much, eh? Your average, Tommy, now for 12 games is 228.
That's very good.
That's very good. Nothing much to worry about. Now, next week, you're going to have another fellow around here that's going to try to make it tough for you. And I would say, Tom, that this week you disappointed us a little in that you started with 246, and then you kept sliding all the way down to 214, having a very poor total of 696. Last week you gave us 740.
Yeah, well, I was well satisfied, though, Fred. I missed a spare and had a few 10-pins. Ball was working a little bit better last week than this week.
You feel that you have licked the bugaboo here on the left side?
I don't, either alley right now, Fred. They're both about the same to me. I favor 4 just a little bit in that it carries a light hitch, just a shade better than 3 does. But outside of that, why, I have a pretty good line, I feel, on both alleys.
I feel you do, too, with 228 average. I think that's pretty good. That's more than your weight. Tommy, good luck to you going back to St. Louis, and we'll see you right here in Louisville, Kentucky, again next week on Championship Bowling. Tom Hennessy. Well, next week, here at the Cane Run Lanes in Louisville, Kentucky, in the heart of the bluegrass country, we'll have another one for you. It'll be a big one. Tom Hennessy of St. Louis meeting from the Motor City of Detroit, Pete Carter. So be with us at that time. Fred Wolf just saying, good bowling to you.